Good day, everyone, and welcome to Current Syntactic Theory. I am Ma'am Sheng, your reporter for today. Indeed, in the preceding chapters, we have informally surveyed some basic properties of constructions in English. The situation may look rather frightening because there seem to be many different kinds of structures already, even though we have been carefully avoiding many of the difficult issues. In this video, we are going to tackle about X-bar theory and its format. If we look at the internal organization of the constituents we see a lot of similarity. For example, looking at the illustration. A certain cross-categorical uniformity takes place wherein the internal organization of phrases is always the same regardless of the choice of head. This discovery is a generalization over a great number of different chunks of constituent structure and is described as X-bar theory. Theory is the set of principles that tell us how any particular HP can be constructed internally. It is widely known theory of syntax and constitutes. X-bar theory, it is essential to be familiar with its principles in order to understand X-bar theory. In turn, it is important to be clear about explicit claims of X-bar theory in order to understand the motivation for some special new movement rules. Here are the X-bar theory principles. A. Each phrasal constituent has a head. B. This head is always a morpheme or a word. C. The head is unique. D. Every morpheme is the head of some constituent. E. In general, no non-constituent has a unique head. F. The largest constituent with head H is notated HP or H max and is called the maximal or phrasal projection of H. G. HP or H max is a constituent consisting of a constituent H bar and at most one sister called the specifier of H. H bar is also notated H. H bar consists of the head H and some sisters. These sisters are called the complements of H. I. HP can also consist of an HB and a sister constituent called an adjunct to H. J. Adjuncts, complements, and specifiers are themselves phrasal constituents. While the basic principles A to E have close analogs in morphology, F to J only apply to syntax. The structures allowed by the theory can be depicted with three fragments in the next illustration. An XP can have 0 or more adjuncts, 0 or 1 subject, 0 or more complements, that always it has a head X. In English, complements follow the head and subjects precede the head, as shown here. So, the overlook of a phrase is illustrated in the next slide. An XP can have 0 or more adjuncts, 0 or 1 subject, 0 or more complements, that always it has a head X. In English, complements follow the head and subjects precede the head, as shown here. For clear understanding of the X-bar theory illustrations, it is important to get acquainted with these basic terms. A specifier is the daughter of the first phrase level and sister to the bar level. Adjuncts are modifiers. Complements are daughters of the X-bar level and sisters to just the X level. X or head is the head noun. Branches or arcs are the lines connecting point in a tree. Nodes are the points labeled with words like TP, NP, VP, or etc. Sisters are nodes just in case they have the same mother. So, this is how the X-bar theory appears. How about in some cases of discontinuities in phrases? X-bar theory should be true of every single phrase, and these principles are so basic, we expect them to hold in other languages too. And it is natural to expect subjects, complements, and adjuncts for every category type. If some categories do not have all these components, we would like to understand why. Silent heads. We have already seen some empty heads. For example, English common count nouns cannot be used without a determiner unless they are plural. In the given samples, all the underlined plurals must be DPs. They must therefore all contain a silent D. These silent Ds actually have a meaning and are heads in this way. They determine what kind of DP we are dealing with. Pronouns and proper names do not occur with Ds, but distribute as DPs. In this sentence, John will see you. By X-bar theory, proper names and pronouns which behave like DPs must contain at the very least a D and perhaps an NP. How this should be done is an interesting but advanced topic. Silent heads. T tense can also be present as a silent head. In English present tense, this is usually the case except in third person singular. For example, in present tense, I wash myself. In past, I washed myself. Future, I will wash myself. We see here that the present tense T is usually a silent head, except in the third person singular, when it is manifested as the suffix S. Past tense is systematically manifested as the suffix ed. Future T is as well, and infinitive T as too. And here's a challenging case. One problematic case for X-bar theory that we have been systematically avoiding so far is found in simple English present and past. Although present and past tense verbs are words, they are morphologically complex, composed of V and T. In the simple present, it looks like the tense appears inside the VP between the verb and its object. What's going on here? X-bar theory would lead us to expect structures like this instead. But the tree on the right is not morphologically well formed because the tense affix S cannot attach to names, but only to verbs. What operation could put the verb and the tense into the positions we find in English? There are two natural ideas. A. The V visit moves up to T, or the T affix S moves down to V. If the verb were moving out of the VP and up to T, this data would not be predicted, since then the combination V plus T would appear on the left side of the adverb. On the other hand, if T is moving to the V, the combination V plus T would appear on the right side of the adverb. Clearly, it is latter option that is correct. Hence, the movement of T onto the verb is called affix hopping. So, in some sense, the tense is not really included in the VP, even though we see it attached to the verb. How can we reconcile these facts? The affix hopping hypothesis allows the following sort of hypothesis about what happens here. VP deletion applies just to the VP before affix hopping, And then, since the affix still requires a V, the English verb do is provided. Unfortunately, one more wrinkle is needed to understand how tense attaches to English verbs. English allows multiple auxiliary verbs to appear in the same clause. A modal, a form of have, and a form of be can all occur at once, as in, John will have been eating a cake. Furthermore, we notice the verb after auxiliary have must be in past participle form, which is in English often ends with en or ed. In this sentence, we have John has eaten or taken or hidden the cake. While the verb after auxiliary be must be in present participle form. For example, in this sentence, John is eating or taking or hiding, stealing, or showing the cake. These dependencies between the particular auxiliary and the form of the following verb can be accounted for simply by the assumption that they have lexical entries like this. In this tree diagram, notice that there are several different VPs in this structure of various forms: tense, infinitive, past participle, or present participle. Each VP conforms to X-bar theory, and each could be modified by an adjunct like enthusiastically, so we can account for many of the positions in which the adverb could naturally occur. There you have it. We have essentially familiarized some basic terms, principles, and discontinuities in X-bar theory. It is important to study this to better understand some explicit claims of X-bar theory. This ends my report. Once again, this is Mom Sheng saying, stay enthusiastic and optimistic amid pandemic. Thank you for listening. God bless everyone.